Welcome, welcome, and bienvenidos. So, depending on when you're listening to this, buenos dias, buenas tardes, or buenas noches. My name is Kat Lopez Shelby, and I'm the founder and CEO of Shelby Technology Solutions. But for all intents and purposes of today, I'm the podcast host for Tech and Tequila. If it's your first time joining us, first and foremost, you are in for a super treat because today is the last in a series about being a world wonder or a local voyager, hashtag, let's say, digital nomad, hashtag your digital bliss.
Welcome, and bienvenidos. Thank you for joining us on the podcast, Tech and Tequila. If you don't know who I am, I'm Kat Lopez Shelby, and I'm the founder and CEO of Shelby Technology Solutions. But more importantly, you're here for Tech and Tequila, where we learn a lot about tech, and we may have some nice tequila drinks while we're at it. If you're new here, Tech and Tequila is all about everything technology based for your business. So what that means is we have suppliers on here to talk about how they can help you grow your business. We, have mindset coaches on here talking about how to help you grow your business. We're all about business and basically introducing you to different suppliers and different ways that help you within your business.
We're going to start this episode of Tech and Tequila the same way that we start most of them, which is either making a tequila drink or giving some fun facts about a tequila. And the tequila that I got today is Lalo, just in case if you haven't heard of it before. It's extremely smooth, I can tell you. The other thing is Lalo is made exclusively from mature blue Weber agave that is hand-picked from the Jalisco Highlands, giving it a very unique and pure taste. One of the big things that Lalo prides itself on is only using 3 ingredients, and that's agave, yeast, and water, staying true to the traditional tequila making methods with no additives. Lalo is made in small batches, and one of the other things is Lalo skips the barrel aging process. And the reason they do that is to highlight the natural flavors of agave and its clean, crisp, fresh flavor. So I'm going to make a really quick Paloma while Dr. Jenna, who is here again, is going to introduce herself and tell us, number one, where she is at while wandering the world, and just give us a little recap. I love it.
Okay. Hi, I am Dr. Jenna W. Clark. I have most of my intention in just creating a lifestyle of well-being. My background is I have a doctorate of pharmacy and an advanced fellowship in anti-aging, metabolic, and functional medicine. And after learning all of those things and getting really educated in that way, working with a ton of clients and consulting for well-being, realizing that whatever lifestyle makes you the most lit up, happy, ready to go, ready to do the next thing is likely the one that's going to be best for your cellular regeneration. And in coming to find that out, my life has really led me to practice the preach. And if you're going to say it, we're going to show you, you got to do it kind of thing. So it's led me on some really great adventures. And so currently I am in Spain. This is something that we kind of expected, but not really. And so I'm here with my 2 youngest children, and I'm in my swimsuit right now because we just found a beach earlier today. We were really excited to find this particular beach and went swimming and got a little carried away. But that's kind of the just intro. And I am in I've never even been to Europe before. So as far as wonder, my brain and my body and my spirit is just very, what can I see? What's next? And also going with the facts that we're travelers, not vacationers. So we are still working through our daily life, which is kind of a fun way to integrate. And I say fun with challenging, with all the smiles after we've already gotten through the struggle. So
I was going to say, remember, we don't use the S word, we say pressure because we're all diamonds that are being, let's say pressured or made. But, I wanted to bring something because obviously the last time we spoke, you hadn't left to go to Spain yet. And one of the questions, concerns, things that when someone thinks okay, I'm going to be a local voyager or I'm going to be a world wanderer is, how am I going to take my entire world with me, so to speak? And, you know, similar to what Lalo prides itself on being made from 3 ingredients, one of the things that I think that we had previously talked about, and the tech gods were not shining on us that day, um, and our volume, let's just say, did not work out, was how you decide what you're going to bring from point A to point B. Like, and what does that look like in the process of paring that down?
Wow. That is a great question. And I think that I had a little bit of life experience cheat code to get me there. However, I will say that what started the entire lifestyle shift and what really allowed us to get into the mindset that we don't have to have so much energetic stuff, and deciding which things make the most sense. And you think you're going to do this all very logically. And I promise you'll always end up at your destination with a ton of stuff you didn't need, and you're missing something like really simple you should have brought. And that, I think, is part of the fun. I think that's like just, it's never something that's not, you couldn't get past, right? I'll say that it was the magic art of tidying up. And I think it's the Marie Kondo method. Is I was first given a book to start realizing what actually brings me joy. And so I think that was 5, 6-ish years ago now, just starting to have less and less. And when we moved, and when we were doing our seasonal nomad stuff, when we moved a lot of our stuff to Costa Rica, I was a shipping container, and we had an estate sale with everything that was left in our house. And that's just to like mitigate all those little decision-making things. I didn't know you could do that. I was like, this is amazing. Let's do that. And then we have all of this stuff there, which over the years that we were there, we got rid of one way or another, right? We can't carry it all with us. And I think that that can be a good reflection emotionally as well. As like, you can't carry it all with you. You can't carry your whole story with you every step of the way. You're going to have to decide, where does it go? Where can it best be used? So we really, all of the things that we had over the last, we came back into the country, I think, with 10 bags. And I think the biggest thing that I would say to someone who hasn't been on that side of it, who hasn't made such that dramatic shift, is that I still find stuff that I didn't know I had. I still have so many things. When we've moved from place to place, I still have to pare down and get rid of things. There is such abundance in the universe that when you decide what to bring, the biggest consideration that I would say is, don't be worried about what you're leaving behind. Don't hold on to what you're leaving, whatever it is. So I think that that is like more of a mindset core. And then of course we'll get practical on, like, I brought a converter, and when I got here, my converter busted and didn't work. And so it was a huge thing that I made sure to purchase, that I had, and that I planned to do. So you can do all those things. I definitely think checklist. And I think that one of the resources that would be really helpful is a checklist for each travel. And obviously I've background gotten a lot better at that than I realized, because we made so many shifts. There was 5 of us in my family in an FJ cruiser, and that was it when we traveled from destination to destination. And that seems like a lot now, because now each of us here have 1 carry-on and 1 backpack. And we do things like find super light towels, make sure that you have a hot spot with you, make sure everyone has music. Those like little things are what you find out what actually brings me joy, what's going to make my trip. And it's less about all of the preparedness stuff other than those basic checklists. So I think that there's probably some knowledge that comes with just doing it. And I think for someone starting, I would say, look at the Marie Kondo method just for your life, and just look at cleaning things up so that you have less stuff, so you can have more focus on what matters. And that will naturally pull you into that part. And then when you're ready for a trip, you got to kind of have a checklist, like a curated checklist of someone who's done it. I think that really, really helps. And then realize you can't be prepared for everything. Don't worry about the stuff you're leaving behind. Really think about what you want to have with you, what you on a daily basis want to carry with you.
Well, and I think you made such a good point think about what, I don't want to say is a necessity, but think about, what could you possibly replace when you get over there? So I am somebody who absolutely loves my makeup, but as I've traveled more, I've pared that down, because at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm more of a local voyager here in Texas, New Mexico, kind of places that I can drive in my beautiful electric car. But the thing is, I can find a CVS or a Walgreens or a Target if, let's say, I forget my favorite lipstick, and maybe I can't find that particular one, but I find something that works just as well. And I think there's a lot to that. Now, there's one thing that we did chat about that I'm a firm believer in, and I know you're a firm believer in, is that when I do travel on a plane, that I take one outfit and I put one outfit into my carry-on, or put on things that I'm like in my carry-on that I'm like, if somehow my bag decides to go on a little walkabout around, the United States or wherever, I have this. So I know for sure I'm like set and ready to go. I mean, what are some things that, obviously you're traveling yourself with your kids, that you put in your carry-on to make sure like we have this above all else?
Well, so also really lucky because we didn't check any bags. So everything was in our carry-on. So just in case, that helps. But I do hear what you're saying. And really the change of clothes thing is something my mom told me a long time ago is super important. And I also always put 2 pairs of socks in my bag so that if I want to change my socks on the flight, I feel like that's something, it makes me really happy. Okay. Like that's a thing. And for the kids, just making sure honestly that they have music is really good for everyone, just for calm, especially in a long time flight, and activities for them to do. But I mean, when I have everything with me, they checked the bags when we were in Canada this time. It was so stressful. Because just there wasn't enough room on the plane. So it was nice to be at our layover without the bags because it was a crowded airport, but it is like a little bit of like, oh my gosh, like what if something happens and I want something from my bag? There is a little bit of that. But I would say also then on your small item, your carry-on, just be very mindful of not only having your local currency from, you want to have some currency of your own. So when you come back, you have some, and that if you can transfer it, you can. You want to have currency wherever you're going. And I know this is different because I'm worldwide or whatever, but you want to make sure that you have a couple of different cards and you have them in different places, but all on your small bag, not in your actual carry-on, because like something like that could happen where they want to check some of it. And then you end up, it was a super fun thing. And then my sweet, sweet little boy left his man purse on the plane. And so we ended up waiting for 2 hours for them to get all of these little Minecraft souvenirs. I don't know if that's something that we need to make sure to remind everyone to make sure you bring all of your little figurines. Don't leave them.
Don't leave them.
But yeah, no, for as far as makeup, clothes, I mean, anything, it's a lot different depending on where you go. So here, I didn't know what to expect. In Costa Rica, probably, and especially where we go in Costa Rica, it's like a little bit further south, or we'll go more to some less touristy areas on either side that we go. And you're not always able to get as many of the things or at prices that make sense because it's had to travel there. Here so far, I guess there's ports. So it's like, it's been really easy to get everything. I was shocked that the little stores that they have here were absolutely anything. I got 2 different types of converters for less than $8. So it was, or euros. But I mean, it's been really nice to see the differences there. And I think when you say like, what are the things that you want to make sure of, is remember that wherever you go, people are living there. And you'll be able to move through. Then just what things can you not live without? Like if you have a favorite pair of shorts that you wear all of the time, obviously bring them, but don't bring things that you think I might wear because I'm going there, or I might need because I'm going there. And as far as like makeup and the like fixing up types of stuff, that's so on your own person. Like I brought stuff and I don't think I've used it yet. So I actually want to hear from you. Because like hair stuff, like I brought little stuff just in case. There's all different stuff. What do you have to have, Kat? Like, I know you get a lot more space. You can bring more things in the car. But
No. So my necessities, obviously, and as you can tell, I have very curly hair, is I have to bring my curly hair stuff with me. So that's like curl cream, because universally, I mean, I'm not going to say I have never left without having everything that I need, but the shampoo and conditioner that you find at the hotel, is not conducive for my hair.
Right.
And, especially because I consistently go back to West Texas. Anybody that has been there knows kind of what the water situation's like. So these beautiful curls need some little TLC. So, I take my, hydration, leave-in conditioner, things like that. But I have everything pared down to like a smaller bottle. So it's all travel size. And one of my favorite things to do is to go into like the Target and then look for the travel size section, because inevitably they'll have like buy 3, get so much off, or something of that nature. Or like if you go to Sephora or Ulta and you go up to the front, right by where you're checking out, because they want you to make impulse purchases, they'll have the travel sizes there that you can grab. Because I was going to say, like, in the end of the day, if I didn't have anything, I just need, moisturizer, face cleanser, some type of like powder to put on my face, which I always buy in the travel sizes anyways. And then something for my eyebrows, because those are like, those are my top things.
Oh,
like,
I like that. I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
I did bring it's good that you say this, because I did bring my face cleanser. I did bring like my toner, my rice water toner, so I don't have to make it. That is a big thing. Just the face stuff, so that your same thing, so you're not switching around. That's a big deal. I didn't think about that. My hair, I really would love to say I care about it so much more. I really would, bro. But I would dread this up tomorrow. I love to not care about messing with it. So I did this time, because my mama went with me and was like, you should get some of their shampoo. So she got me these little shampoo conditioners. So it's still from the beach now, so it's not there. But that is kind of an interesting thing of what things are going to make you feel comfortable wherever you are. And then what things do you not realize you don't even care about that aren't as big of a deal? Like as far as like, for me, clothing and shoes, when I first started traveling and I was going on trips to do like lobbying stuff, it was, oh my gosh, like how can I fit all of these suits and all of these shoes and all of the stuff jewelry that matches it, because that was important anyways. But I did realize even that those first trips, that paring down your wardrobe and paring down getting more functional pieces to cross over is so important. If you can have like 1 to 2 pairs of shoes, you have won the traveling, especially for flying. So I think that the big differences are how much you can store and bring with you, right? And it's not that much different, but it is different enough, because I can't just like throw something in loose. Everything has to pack up together at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. I mean, and I'm going to sound inexpensive in this, I pack a very small carry-on, generally if I'm going to be gone for like 3 or 4 days. And usually I have 3 pairs of shoes, which seems excessive, but I have a pair of sneakers. I have like a pair of dress type shoes, which for me is generally boots, because I'm out in the field a lot. And then I'll have like a pair of chanclas that I can just throw on. This is my personal thing. I have aversion to walking barefoot on places. And so that's why I have my chanclas, but they don't take up very much room. And the reason I said inexpensive is I don't buy the bags from Amazon or anything. I get the Ziploc bags from the store, the big ones, and just like use them in my suitcase, so that if something breaks or leaks, nothing's getting all over everything, I mean, don't get me wrong, the bags are cute. I'm not going to say I wouldn't love to have it, but it just has never been something that's like a priority to me. And it's kind of similar to, I would say, my tech, because to me, more like, honestly, I could get someplace and not have this and be able to like get clothes or get something to make it work. But, I would not feel comfortable without like my laptop and my phone and my, my stand for my phone, so that if I want to make videos, and my, like, I have a mini light. It's not very big, but it's like, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches that recharges. Like those things to me are the must-haves, whereas the other things are like, these are great and they make things better, but at the end of the day, I can replace these easily, where those things I can't replace. So
it's crazy. Like you say computer, and I'm like, oh, you can't even like, I didn't even think of it as something that was external, because, but today when I couldn't recharge so seriously, I'm like, well, of course, my goodness, lady.
No, I know that we had talked about this a while back, because you're traveling, the world. And one of the things that I had not even until recently realized, there was the two things when you brought up the fact that you couldn't send a text message to your phone. So you couldn't use like the washer and dryer, the laundromat. And then I was talking to one of my clients that travels a lot, and she's like, I had the same issue, except that they sent me, I don't know what big person it was. So whether it's Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, whom it was, but they sent them a thing saying, if you continue to do this, we're going to kick you off the network, because you're basically taking advantage of your world traveler package, which I thought was hilarious, because I'm like, they have it on here so you can use it.
That's so crazy.
And I guess the thought process is it's really meant for someone who's vacationing versus someone who's like, oh, I'm going to be in Mexico for 2 months, or I'm going to be over here. And this particular client spends a lot of time in Mexico. And she was like, yeah, and I'm going to butcher this name because I looked it up, but she was like, super inexpensive. I got an AIRL. Let me look at the spelling, because it is AIRALO. So it's Airalo. And she got that because she was like, this was the way I keep the same number. Everything works like it's supposed to. It's basically a prepaid plan. It's an eSIM. And she was able to set it up and use it. And she was like, knock on wood, but it's worked great for me so far.
That might be a really good, I'm going to tell you that what happened to me at the other thing is, and I was actually laughing about this today. I was thinking about all the tech that I've used, and over here, Omeo for like my train tickets, which I've never done before, right? Like there's all of these new tech types of things. And when you sent me this, you sent me like a list of the top ones that were used. Google Maps offline saves my freaking life. I can walk anywhere. It makes the biggest difference no matter where I am. And Airbnb, because what happened in that other situation is I asked my host what to do, and my host let me borrow his phone number to do that. But it would obviously be much better. I'm actually going to look at that while you can always buy a SIM card, but then you don't have the same phone number. And then you have to be 2 phones. So I always have those 2 phones with me, and contacting one or another and keeping them both charged and all that, which shouldn't be a big deal, but on me. So, having 2 charged phones, it's an extra challenge. Or you're switching the SIM cards out and not dropping that little thing every time you switch it out, and then not being able to get calls on one while you're to the other. So this is really interesting. I'm glad that she's found usefulness in that. I'd like to see how that works. I'll probably check it out. And I've been really lucky with these hosts so far, and I've had every place that I've said didn't have a washer has had a washer. So that's been exciting. And I'm hanging my clothes out on the line. Everything is super walkable with like brick, and not even concrete, but like brick, like really nice pathways for all of the sidewalks through all of town. So I've enjoyed it, but the phone number thing has not been an issue yet, but I'm going to check this out. It might be a good thing to get ahead of.
Yes. And I think that, it's these little things that when you're looking at traveling, whether you're a local voyager or, a world wonder, just digital nomad in general, is, think about where you're going. Because if like, for example, I used to live in West Texas. It's like dry there, like super duper dry. It's like being in Vegas, basically. Like it's not a perfect desert, but it is dry. But if you're going to be in Houston for a couple of months, like you have to think about the humidity. And I think we had spoken about this before, is that when you guys were up in the jungle and you had all this humidity, you needed silicone packs for your electronics to keep them from like getting, moisture inside of them, because because while our equipment these days is water resistant, it's not meant to constantly have that moisture near it. And so you want to protect your devices and things like that.
Yeah, I remember when we were there, we would literally, when we would wake up, there would be a cloud in our house because it was just passing through. And RIP all my leather, it's all gone. Anything that I had. It's okay. I needed a new outlook on life. We're moving into a new space, but it really is. And that is a really interesting thing to think about too, is down there you have dry rooms. So if you have a dry room, you can put your electronics in the dry room when you're not using them. But if you don't have a dry room, that's what we did when we were up on the mountain, is silicone packs and closing everything up at night and making sure that you're using all of the tools you have. And then just the internet speeds and the internet availability at that point in time, which now is much better. I think that it's a good time to be entering into this, because whatever it was that forced us to move forward or have us choose to move forward as far as the tech that was already there but not being utilized, the tech that has been utilized since that point has then gotten better. And I don't really have to think so much about tech when I talk to other people in wellness professions and this kind of thing that aren't using as much tech. I realize that, oh my goodness, I use it all the time. I know it. However, it doesn't seem like I even have all of the tools figured out that are at the disposal. There's so much that we can do to become more effective and not take away the personal touch. So like, it's really interesting that you still as a person are a tech advisor, right? That's kind of an interesting, we still have the relationships. And I think sometimes it feels like it could get in the way. And right now it feels like, no. Like, I'm in Spain. I'm literally on the southern coast of Spain and just got out of the beach. It's colder water, which is just such a different type of experience. It was not exactly, I mean, I kind of knew, but you don't know until you feel the difference. But I can be here talking to you in Texas. Like, that is pretty amazing to have that connectivity.
Exactly. And that's something I think about all the time. I do talk about the importance of understanding when you agree to do things. And like, for example, I was on the phone with a customer of mine last night at 9 p.m. because they're in Bali. And that was the perfect time for them to meet, to talk about, their needs and what they were looking at and the importance of that. The same thing goes. I myself I'm not going to say mistakenly, I made the decision, but I've been on the phone at like 4:00 in the morning, Texas time. But it is like, I think that in this day and age, we use tech to connect us with like our communities, our customers, our family. And whether that's that you're traveling as a digital nomad, or just like, I have family that's on both sides of the borders. Like, I have family in Mexico and I have family in Canada. And so, we'll get on like a FaceTime call and talk to each other, or,
That's so cool.
I'm gonna be very transparent. 9 times out of 10, we're using Facebook Messenger for the calls. But if need be, we have WhatsApp and we have Voxer, and there's lots of different options available, which I think in this day and age is so important for traveling.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
One of the things that I know from us kind of talking since you've been there, because what is this, your third location in Spain?
Yeah. Thanks, Kat. Call me out. Yeah. It's the third. This is our third location since we've been here. So we arrived on the 24th. And then we took the train pretty much all day on the 26th. So the 26th through the 30th, we were somewhere. That's right. That was like more in town. And then now we're closer to one of the beaches. I don't know, like in my head, I'm like on the left side, on the right side. That doesn't really matter. But we're on we're a beach on one side of this little town for today through tomorrow. So we've been here 3 days. We're leaving tomorrow. But then it's our last spot, so it'll be less confusing. We'll be there for a month, and it's on the other side to have another beach. I really like to stay at a couple of different places when I am in a new city, so that I can see the full layout of the city, since we like to be walkable. So I found the grocery store that we like the best. I found the restaurants. I found the beaches that are all over here. And that way, even when we go to the other side, we'll be familiar with this side of town, and we'll know kind of where we would like to be. Interestingly enough, I found the grocery store, and it's a huge grocery store. I missed it the first couple of days just because everything is nondescript. You have to know exactly where you're going. But there's an app for the grocery store. And if I download the app, I cannot with my phone number. And I'm wondering if this eSIM would do something, or if you still have your actual number. If I download it with my phone number, I get only the stores that would be in my area. So that anything here, which is completely different, I don't get any of the discounts. I don't get any of the special prices that are all, over the grocery store with that code. So I'm wondering, that's something that will be something to find out how that works with corporations and where you're downloading the app and what permissions are allowed. And if there's a way to, if it has to be, in that case, a Spanish phone number, in this case, or something else. But yeah, so this one we can see one, like the port. I look like I'm doing the Superman. So you can see the port this way, and then the swimming beaches are this way, and it's like 4 minutes this way and 6 minutes this way. And I can see from my balcony the water, which I really, really, really love that. And we'll see kind of what the next place is. But I've had such good experiences with Airbnb. Like they should probably already be contacting me, because it legitimately is like we have had such good experiences, and it's been the way that we live. I don't even have a problem saying like that's how it has worked out for us. But yeah, so the first spot was in Madrid. So we stayed in a little, like a hotel in Madrid. It was super nice, and had great coffee, and was very walkable to everything, except for the train station. We had to go far to the train. Other than that, it was good.
Got it. Well, and I think too, you bring up a good point, that transportation when you are somewhere else may be different. I was actually just talking to my son about this, as that, transportation for him, like for example, when he was in Japan, was like hopping on the train and doing this, and he got everywhere he needed to be, and everything was walkable, like what you're talking about. And for those who don't know, if you're listening to this and you're outside of Texas doesn't really have a great public infrastructure in general, or public transportation infrastructure, I should rephrase that. So you're kind of looking at, renting a vehicle, and, even in a lot of places, unless you particularly look ahead of time and you're like, oh, okay. And the one that I can think of off the top of my head is like the Domain. Like, let's say you find an Airbnb near the Domain in Austin, everything is like right there. So you're still utilizing, Uber or, Lyft, and getting from point A to point B. And I mean, and obviously you can rent a car, but I mean,
but I find it kind of sad that people, I mean, it makes it so inaccessible for anyone who does travel to, I didn't really think about that before I did it myself, but if you don't know exactly where you're going and have a ride there and have like a direction there, it makes it a challenge. And like, so people who would come and be able to say like, where can I go that's walkable, end up at the Domain, or end up, at the Riverwalk would be fun. But wherever they do end up, it's cool that they're there, but it's so different from here, where like I can show up in this town and I can walk the entire everywhere, and any little street, any side street, and just walk around and see what's there. There's so much that I found from just walking through, and oh, whoa, look at that. Let's go in there. What's over there? It's such a different feeling. And I hadn't really thought about that. And I was trying to explain it. I told someone this is my first time on a train. I've been on the subways, when I was up in Philadelphia and DC and stuff, but I've never been on, like, this is a big train with the big windows. Like I've never done this. And it was so bizarre to think that I hadn't.
One of the things that I wanted to chat about, because, obviously the last time we spoke was before you had left, is that there was kind of a lot of like changes and revamping and going forward. And this is something, whether it has to do with tech or whether it has to do with just travel, whatever it may be, is that a lot of times you can go down one path and you may have to pivot or, tweak a little bit. And can you kind of speak to that? What does that look like? Mind frame, mindset, like what for somebody who is looking at whether it's, okay, I just want to go stay with my mom for a couple of weeks and be able, or a particular family member, and be able to work from there. What are things that you can do to set yourself up for success when you have these unexpected, we'll use the term challenges?
Right. Well, without directly plugging what I do, I mean, honestly, lifestyle consulting really does help. I think that understanding your values and having a system, I have a system that is at a very entry level where you can help to tidy up your surroundings. And that means all kinds of things. That's like the biggest thing to get started with. And then when you do select what you're doing next, the shopping phase, I think a lot of people don't really take the shopping phase seriously. They immediately select what they think is going to be best and choose. And then you have all the stuff again, right? So I think the shopping phase of just being aware of like, you have every single option to to your advantage, right? Like if you have the ability to choose, which you do, then you can take that space time to choose optimally for you. And a lot of that's observation. So observing what's going to work in whatever situation you're doing. Like what are the surroundings at my mom's house? What type of issues might I encounter? More of that shopping phase is also what type of mindset am I going to have? What types of values are most important to me? Because then when you move into the implementation phase, it's integration. When you're metabolizing with a system, when you're moving forward and actually living life, things are not going to go as the plan. That's the whole point. That's what makes it exciting. However, if you have those other parts of the puzzle started and you really have a good grasp of what is important to you, you've discarded the things that are not. What happened to us in this, we were going to be here for 8 months. We have my husband on a student visa teaching English, all of these things. The visa got held up. He's now not even here. He can still get to be here, but at the same time, we got news about a big contract that's coming through that we need to be present for in Texas. We would not have been able to do that as easily if he had already been over here. So during the time that we didn't know what was going on, it was like a week to a week and a half of really being in limbo about what's going on with the processes. It's a paperwork thing. It's a bureaucratic hang up type of a thing. And there's not much else we can do about it. So the mindset stuff is I would love to say I just didn't get through any type of a, overcoming to get here. And it was just always great mindset. That would be a great promise to make, but it's such a lie, right? So it really is understanding that we always are okay and finding that peaceful perspective. And a lot of times that really is in speaking with other people who have that mindset and understanding the life choices to move forward. But then no matter what happens, now it's a really great thing. I have some more time to work with clients that I was already starting to work with. And now we have an expansive plan as far as that's concerned. So that feels like I have more space time for them. And I'm not tied up with hearts and kisses, the normal family life. We're doing something a little bit different. So it makes for an expansion plan there. I still have someone, my husband's able to be in Texas and being able to provide any type of like our administrative support and there. It makes it a little bit more convenient on that side. Am I bummed that it didn't work out exactly the way? Kind of. However, only for that little bit of time where you realize that the freedom that I get from choosing this lifestyle is what is such an advantageous point of view, right? So because I have the freedom to travel and be wherever I would like to be and wherever I most need to be, that's not going to be a huge problem. And my kids and I go to this next contract, and then there's possibly another travel coming even in December to go somewhere else. So I think the biggest realization is, and the biggest benefit that you get from traveling instead of vacationing, is that it's always okay. And you can trust in your confidence that you are competent to move through. And that feels really nice, honestly. It does. I kind of forgot that it was a wrinkle in the plan because it always kind of seems to iron out smoothly if you keep this mindset. Now, if we would have freaked out and tried to push things forward and I'm not going and we're not doing this and we can't, I can promise you there wouldn't be as much peace in the situation. So it's going to be different for everyone what they choose to do at those moments. But if you're getting ready to embark on this journey, I would say get really, really clear about what's most important to you as far as like decluttering everything in every realm that you can think of, allowing yourself space to really evaluate what your values are, not what you want it to like just vision first. Like the values have to come first to understand what that vision means to you, because it's going to shift as you move forward. If you know that, I think you can pretty much weather anything and come out with new skills on the other side of it.
No, I was thinking where like, people are like, oh, I come up with this particular mantra or think of that. And like one of mine is everything just like at the end of the day is working out for me as it should be, whether it's the morning, evening, or afternoon, and kind of having that philosophy. Because I mean, not per se that it's the exact same thing, but I remember recently I was supposed to travel from where I'm at right now and go to Dallas to go to like 3 or 4 events. Because what I try to do is when I travel, I stack everything like bam, 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 bam. I'm meeting with customers, I'm meeting with suppliers, I'm making sure I'm getting like doing all my touch points. And the night before, I was on site doing a survey for a client, and the client's like, "Hey, what's that on your tire?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And we look, and there's this huge bubble on the tire, like huge. And he's like, "You need to get that looked at," because he's like, "That is a blowout waiting to
Wow.
happen." So, of course, I'm supposed to leave at like 6 a.m. the next day. And I'm like, "Oh, well, I guess we're just going to have to reschedule and flip this because that is not going to happen today." And, and for me, it's like a simple revamp, like move things around. I mean, people are usually, I would say, I have never experienced, and I don't think that I will in the future, having someone be like, "Oh, I'm always like, you have a choice. We can meet in 2 weeks in person, or we can meet virtually today. There's your options. Here's kind of what's going on." Just explaining, because for the most time,
Right.
people are understand. And I always have a mix, like, "Oh, yeah, we can go ahead and meet virtually today, and then when you come in 2 weeks, we'll just finalize everything," or things like that. So I think it's keeping that mindset that everything is always working out, is
Right.
huge.
Right.
And I think that's one of those things that is universal, not just to, having this lifestyle, but, obviously yourself and myself as somebody who is an entrepreneur, it's having that philosophy, because we all know that sometimes things do not seem like they're headed in the direction that we want them to go. And I was going to say it could be very shocking, but that's not really the term that I want to use. It can be challenging, and you're like,
Right.
"Okay, you know what is it?" I cannot think of her name. She says, "Everything in life is either a blessing or a lesson. There's your two options." And that's how I look
Right.
at everything.
That's true. And I really do think also like there's a lot in the old story about good or bad, who's to say. When something happens, it really is neutral. No matter what it is, it's neutral. And the perspective that you choose is what shifts that. And we're not perfect, right? Like I definitely had a moment where when we found out the very first part of news is like, hey, the visa is going to be late, right? That was the first part of news. And I realized we could either stay and wait and shift everything, or we could go and move forward and see what happens. And I I told everyone in the room, I was like, no one talk to me, just a second. Okay, it's going to be all right. We're good. And I think that moment is something I can't really verbalize, but what's happening, I'm going to do my best, is like, you know what? I'm alive. My life's been full of adventures. All kinds of crap has happened that seemed really weird at first and ended up better. And the stuff that seemed really great sometimes didn't always turn out that way. So the weirder this seems, the cooler it'll be. Chill out. It'll be fine. And after my little 2 hours with my kids playing in the beach here, you don't know until you're there. We would not have known. We would have had no idea. And I think there's something so rewarding about overcoming those challenges, because not because you won't have another one, because the next one that happens, you are. And I think this is entrepreneurial or traveler, because these things are aligned. And like when the next one comes, you're almost like ready to jump in the wave a little bit sooner. Not that you don't have some trepidation, but it allows you that confidence.
Yeah. And I think that's the right term. When you experience something and you go through and you're able to make it work out for the best for the situation, let's say, it does. It allows you that confidence to know, like, "Hey, I overcame this, I can overcome this, and we're going to work this out." Like, there's always a solution to every, there's always some kind of solution to every challenge. There's always something that can be done. Like, what is it they always say? It's not over till the gordita lady sings. And I think at the end of the day, like, nobody's singing, so we're still good. We keep going. Or as my
It's such a
husband likes
challenge
to
for me to want
say,
to just sing just for fun now. Like, as a scientist, for real, for
I
real.
know.
As a scientist, like solution to me is like when everything just is all together, it's all one, right? So it's kind of a chaotic dissolution into the truth of like, hey, it's all gonna mix. It all comes out in the wash. You're all gonna be chill. And I like it's not over. It's not over. That's the point, is that it's going to keep going, and we don't want it to be over. And as regeneration of cells, like same thing. We don't want this to stop. We want to continue the challenges so we can continue to get stronger. And I love how it just kind of plays into this lifestyle that we have chosen. And that if people are interested in doing this and have it, I would say they're probably closer than they think they are. I think that they probably have a lot of the skills. I think that these are very transferable skills. And I think it's just those experiences of either, venturing out more where you are or venturing out somewhere completely different to see, like, I really never thought growing up that I would travel at all like this. Like, that was a book. That was not going to happen, And I remember when I first stepped into Costa Rica, I thought, this is a book. Like, I read about this somewhere. I can't believe this exists. And it's kind of nice if you have that curiosity to be able to say, like, oh, everything's real wherever I am. Like, it's not just a book. It's my imagination, which I get to carry with me. So I think that's kind of a cool little bonus.
Yeah. And I think that there's one more thing that I want to talk about before I feel like we've really kind of rounded out this episode. And that is, you did touch on it a little bit, but there's the go with the flow, but there's also having some kind of backup plan or knowing that, hey, here's what we can do and here's how we can move forward. And and I always say with my clients, it's better to have a backup plan for your backup plan, or at least have run what your backup plan is. For those who listened to the most recent episode with Maria from Praxis, that is literally one of the things that you need to do. Test your backup plan. Like, how does this work? And I think, for lack of a better term, you're kind of living that right now, because you're like, okay, here's what we're doing instead of this.
Right. Well, and I think that I can seem so chill and on the surface like this because I am a lifestyle consultant and I've done this for our own lives. And what we do is make sure that my life, your life, whoever we're working with, right, is aligning with your values. And that is a plan. And it is a big, vague, but very directed plan with very specific actions and ways forward so that I can be chill. Because if I fall off of this level, there's this one right here and it goes right to the same place. So I think that having the plan in place allows you to have that that ability to go with the flow. Because if you feel like, my confidence is based in competence, right? So if you feel like you're going to fall, it's not chill. It feels anxiety ridden, right? You cannot lie to yourself. I mean, you can give it a shot. I've never seen it really work out well for anyone. So I think that honesty with yourself, and if any of these things on the plan are moving, where's my next step? And if these things in my plan are moving, where's my next step? I think that's really, really pertinent because I speak a lot about the side that I enjoy, the blissful enjoyment and freedom. And that kind of skips over the fact that I have done this work and that work is, a big piece of how a consultant works with you, with tech or lifestyle, otherwise, however we work with you, is making sure that you have, I'm going to do it now because I can't stop, a backup plan for your backup plan to back up your backup plan. And one, and two. Okay, so I couldn't get it out of my head. I had to do it. But it really is like there's something at each step. And that's why I can be like free falling because I've got a net.
And I think that said, if, plan B doesn't work, then you got plan the rest of the alphabet till Z, like, and I think that's the big thing. When I talk to my clients about setting up, disaster recovery or business continuity, it's, okay, if this goes down, what do you do to keep business running as usual? So you're not losing money or you're not having customers have a bad experience. And then it's kind of like what I was talking about before is like, okay, now you got to test it out, because if you don't ever test it out, you don't know if it doesn't work. And I mean, I can't count on my hands and toes the number of times I have had a client call me and been like, well, hey, we have this backup internet, but then we tried to use it and it doesn't work. And I'm like, well, did you test it out? And of course they're like, no, we got it put in and it worked that one day. And I'm like, no, it's just like any type of anything. It needs to be tested periodically to make sure that it's still working. Because it's not something you use all the time. You're going to be like, oh, what's going on? I think
I just thought about like my son, we're here in Spain, we're walking by, he wants to buy a boat. He wants to buy a boat out of all of these boats that are here. And I told him, well, who's going to take care of it? What do you mean? It was like, because if you don't use something, it falls apart. You have to make sure you're taking care of it. Like it needs care and attention no matter what you have under your ownership. So I think our tech is the same way. And we don't always think about that. I was a good girl. I tested out my hotspot before I left. So I feel like I also need like a star or something like that. But yeah,
I love it.
Very, very helpful.
No, I think this is a good, place to stop on and kind of, end this podcast on. But I would be remiss because obviously they can find me at Tech and Tequila and at shelbyts.com. But for someone who wants to work with you, Dr. Jenna, where is the best place for them to look and how would you recommend them starting?
Honestly, the best place is my website, which is visionaryintuitiveproductions.com. Visionary Intuitive Productions, because we envision and intuitively produce your best life now. Super cute, yes. And on Instagram, you can find me linked through the website. It's dr.jw1. I'm a little bit more fun on Instagram. And when you get to know me in person, the website is beautiful altogether, and I promise that it will be very, very helpful and will lead you directly to me. I think a good thing to do is I have the option for just a chat, which is the 20 minutes for $35 that allows us to say like, hey, what are you? Where are you? How are we going to work together? What are your plans? And going from there. And I also have a couple of really great programs. Functional Spirit Science is one of my favorites that we've been running for 4 years and improving every single year, which is nice. You can also just get a consult if you want a second opinion, an evaluation on a business plan, a lifestyle plan, wanting to go over values, persona, or even cellular regeneration, those types of things. So I'm an all-around lifestyle consultant, and you can find me primarily at visionaryintuitiveproductions.com.
Well, thank you again. I appreciate you being on. I know that, this has been a very exciting time for yourself and myself, and we have great things to come. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Kat. It's been so much fun.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of Tech and Tequila. I hope you enjoyed our conversation today. To stay updated about all things tech and more, don't forget to visit us at our website, shelbyts.com. If you loved what you heard, remember to show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our podcast. Your 5-star ratings and reviews mean the world to us and help us to reach more listeners just like you. So muchas gracias again for joining us with Tech and Tequila. Thank you so much. You learned a lot about tech and maybe you had a nice drink of tequila.